Hey guys, YouTuber 100 here. Alright, now here I am with another Planet of the Apes movie review. Now here I am with a review for Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. So, I gotta say, this one, this really wasn't too good. I mean, really with this one I think is like, absolutely really just completely forgettable, really. I mean, there's really like nothing really that this film really has got going for it. I mean, it does like kind of continue on with the events in a way from the previous film, but it's like very loosely continued. Yeah, this kind of reminds me of both of the sequels to both versions of The Fly, like the Return of the Fly, which was the original film sequel, and then of course like The Fly 2, which was the sequel for the remake. Yeah, because this film, just like those sequels, like this film, this the focus on this film is really on the son that was born in the previous film. Like in this film, the focus really is like put on a Milo, the son of Cornelius and Zira. And yeah, in this film, like he's now all grown up, and yeah, this is pretty much like how his life really is now. Ever since like pretty much he was raised by Armando, the circus guy from the previous film. And it's interesting how in this film, like Milo, he's all grown up and he's like played by Roddy McDowall, who played Cornelius in the previous three films. So yeah, it is interesting they still have uh, the a cast member like returning to play like a different character. So I think that is kind of interesting, and they also do have Ricardo Montalban back as Armando. So yeah, a couple of recurring actors in this film. But yeah, here it's really like a totally different premise from the other three films. Well, in a way, like this film is kind of like reverse premise of the original film, and even like in Beneath the Planet of the Apes. Yeah, because this is pretty much like the opposite of how things were in the first two films, where like it was set in the far distant future, and now like the humans are kind of like treated as kind of like slaves working for apes. And this is kind of like how apes in this period are now like the slaves. Apes, and yeah, it's pretty much how uh, apes are like put into like a slave labor, and so yeah, apes are like given like a whole bunch of jobs in this film, and they're really just like treated like pretty like uh badly by humans, and just yeah, it's shown that humans really just like are being apes and like they're giving them like drugs and stuff. So yeah, this is just showing how apes are like really badly treated now, I guess, like because of the events with Cornelius and Zero from the previous film. And so yeah, and really just yeah, really just this film is just like completely forgettable. I mean, there's really like nothing here to really recommend. Really, I mean, it just like focus now on Milo's life now as he's fully grown, and yeah, just showing how he does have now a like after he like here's what happened to Armando in this film at one point, and that's when like he like totally like turns his back on humans and just really is like now like wanting apes to become dominant and pretty much like lead to like how we get it in the first two films. And so yeah, it's really just like a really like dull movie, really. I mean, there's really like nothing in this film to really like shout out about, and it's like a really just like I've said, it's just like it's a totally forgettable film. I mean, yeah, it does kind of like have a similar premise that Rise of the Planet of the Apes did, but yeah, it's like Rise of the Planet of the Apes is not like a full official remake to this movie. But yeah, this is still like yeah, Rise of the Planet of the Apes definitely like told the story like much better than this film did. And so yeah, it's really just like yeah, it's really just like a dull movie, really. I mean, it's just there. I really don't think that there was really any reason to really have this film be made. I mean, I think this is the first one of the original series to really just like be a totally pointless film to have around, and probably like the next film and the final film of this series, is a Battle of the Planet of the Apes will like be the same way, because with how this film goes, I really don't see like what is next for this film, the next film to really like have going for it either. If this film really had nothing and was really pointless to have, so yeah, really just a totally forgettable film. I really don't recommend it, and yeah, even like probably like in a week, I'm probably not gonna really remember like anything about this film really. That's how forgettable this film really is. So yeah, I would give this film, I don't know, uh, 2 stars out of 4. I mean, yeah, it just really does have, it has nothing going for it really, and there's nothing to really like shout out about. So yeah, just a really forgettable film overall. So yeah, let me just like talk about the plot a little bit. Yeah, I'm probably just gonna like really just make cut it short and sweet, because there's really not really that much to talk about in this film. Right. So this film is set in the year 1991, and and, yeah, there was like this disease that ended up like wiping out cats and dogs from the earth or something. And so, and like it's shown that the American government now has like a series of police states that has taken apes in as pets, until like this culture that's like based on ape slave labor has been established. Yes, then it's now showing that the the ape child that was born in the previous film from Zira and Cornelius Milo, he's now fully grown, as I said, and he was raised by Armando. And and Milo ended up being brought by Armando to New York, or for like the circus's arrival, and eventually like after Milo ended up like seeing just how there were, gosh, it's like 9:30 p.m. and there's like, I think that was like a motorcycle that just rode by. I mean, who rides a motorcycle at 9:30 p.m.? Yeah. Anyway, yeah. Uh, and then it's showing that apes are now just like performing a bunch of like mental tasks, and they're just like really like is a really like intensive discipline on the disobedient apes. And after Milo saw like one of the apes ended up being just beaten and drugged out, Milo ended up just shouting out "lousy human bastards." And once like they like the people doing it like heard it, like Armando was like saying that he was the one who said it, had it, and then like during like the whole all the commotion, Milo ended up like running off, and then Armando then just ended up like telling Milo that he's gonna be turning himself to the authorities, or he's gonna just like bluff the way out of the situation, and he just told Milo to hide in a group of apes for safety. And so then Milo ended up like just like hiding in a cage of orangutans, and then it just showed like Milo then like ended up like being trained for slavery himself, through like violent conditioning, and then yeah, he ended up being sold to like a governor of Breck. Heck, and he then like was allowed to like name himself by the owner, and then like as he like was just randomly pointing to a word in just a book that was handed to him, he then like ended up having his finger put on the name Caesar. So yeah, his name like ended up like being a Caesar while he was being owned by the governor. And so then yeah, Caesar, I guess I'll refer to him now, ended up like being just put to work by the chief aide McDonald. Arnold, and he's like has African American heritage, and so then that allowed him to he was like able to sympathize with the apes, and he also like did have like this thin thinly veiled the disgust of his boss all as well. Yeah, and as my Armando was being interrogated by the police, he's like, the Inspector Culp, was like suspecting his circus ape to be the child of the talking apes of the future, and so then, as like Culp's assistant was putting Armando through like a machine that was labeled the Authenticator, which like was pretty much like a truth serum in a way. It would like force people to tell the truth. And it's Ar- like Armando. Then after he did admit it that he had heard the name Cornelius before, he then like after he realized that he really just couldn't fight through the machine, he pretty much ended up committing suicide and just like jumped through a window while struggling with a guard. Yeah. And after Caesar or Milo found out about what happened to Armando, that's when like he like completely turned his back against humans and really just didn't have any more faith in human kindness. And then that's when he was like, and then started like secretly teaching apes combat and like having them gather their own weapons. So yeah, now this was like when Milo or Caesar was like forming his own ape army. Yeah, yeah, yeah. And then eventually, Breck learned that Caesar was actually the ape that his whole group was hunting down, and so then Caesar ended up like revealing himself to MacDonald, and he just pretty much like told MacDonald who he really was. And yeah, and then eventually like Armando then like could understand Caesar's like intentions to really just get rid of Breck, and he was like expressing doubt about the revolution's effectiveness. Yes, and with Caesar being just really dismissing all the humans, and but yeah, eventually Caesar ended up being captured by Breck's men, and then like they were like torturing him, pretty much trying to get him to speak, and so like they like electrocuted him pretty much, and then like after he then spoke, like Breck was like ordering immediate death on Caesar, but yeah, the electrocution like wasn't really as lethal because McDonald ended up like just reducing the output on the machine, and that just made it like below lethal levels. So yeah, uh, Caesar, of course, like survived it, and then after Breck ended up like leaving, then like the torturer ended up being killed by Caesar, and then Caesar then ended up escaping, and then and yeah, he was then like Caesar then like was like starting up his revolution, and he was taking over the ape management, and then yeah, the apes then like ended up like killing most of the riot police that were like attempting to stop the apes while setting the city on fire. Yeah, and then and yeah, most of the personnel ended up being killed after the apes like bursted into the command post, and then Caesar like then had a Breck marched out to be executed, and then like MacDonald then was just like just trying to plea to Caesar to not come to this and just be merciful to the masters, but yeah, Caesar like just wasn't listening, and then he just ended up declaring, "Where there is fire, there is smoke." And in that smoke, from this day forward, my people will crouch and conspire and plot and plan for the inevitable day of man's downfall. The day when he finally and self-destructively turns his weapons against his own kind. The day of the writing in the sky, when your cities lie buried under radioactive rubble. When the sea is a dead sea and the land is a wasteland out of which I will lead my people from their captivity, and we shall build our own cities in which there will be no place for humans except to serve our ends, and we shall found our own armies, our own religion, our own dynasty, and that day is upon you now. Yeah, and as they were like getting ready to just beat Breck to death by like raising up rifles in the air, uh, Caesar's girlfriend Lisa then just like objected, and she just shouted no. Oh, and yeah, this was like the first ape other than Milo or Caesar to speak, and then yeah, that's then when Caesar had a reconsideration, and then just had the apes lower their weapons, and it just the film just like closed off by Caesar just saying, "But now we will put away our hatred. Now we will put down our weapons. We have passed through the night of the fires." And those who are our masters are now our servants, and we who are not human can afford to be humane. Destiny is the will of God, and if it is man's destiny to be dominated, it is God's will that he be dominated with compassion and understanding. So cast out your vengeance. Tonight we have seen the birth of the planet of the apes. And yeah, then like all the apes just like screamed out and pretty much like triumph and stuff. So yeah, I guess like this time this was kind of like the start of like apes pretty much like taking over the world pretty much, and yeah, this is now how they're like overshadowing humans, and this is when like apes start to like rule over the world pretty much and become dominant species, pretty much like leading to how things were in the first two films. So yeah, I guess like this is how it originated pretty much in this world. Well, before it got to how it was in the first two films. So yeah, and yeah, that's how the film ended. So yeah, like I said, 2 stars out of 4. I mean, really just nothing about this film is really memorable at all. I mean, the characters really are not that interesting. And the story really is just like it's really generic and it's not really told very well. And yeah, the film as a whole is just like really forgettable. So yeah, this film really is not recommended by me really. I mean, I really don't recommend watching this film. There's really like nothing that you're really gonna get out of this film, really. And so yeah, and with the way this film ended, how would they go with the next film to finish off this series? Well, stay tuned next time to find out as I finish off the original Planet of the Apes movie series with Battle of the Planet of the Apes. So stay tuned for that coming up next. But anyway, so yeah, I guess that's all I really have to say about Conquest of the Planet of the Apes. So I hope you guys did enjoy what I had to say about this movie. And so yeah, I'm sorry that I really couldn't really talk that great about it, but there's really just wasn't a whole lot to talk about. So for what I was able to talk about in this review, I hope you guys did enjoy it. So yeah, thanks for watching, and I'll see you guys later.